terrorist activities that they foment. So this I know, and the President knows. Nobody is in any way misled about the profound nature of this challenge, but we have to be up to it, and we are up to it, and I'm going to support the President in the actions he takes.
And is your husband as well fully in support?
Absolutely. You know, Bill was in Australia when this happened. The President sent a plane to bring him back. I think they really took measures to secure all of our former presidents, but particularly my husband and the President's father, because both of them had taken action against certain organizations and individuals. So I was very grateful for that. So Bill is back home. He's in New York, and he has made it very clear, both privately in his conversations and his public statements, that he is 100% behind the President.
Now, the President's doing everything he can for you and your state. Are you giving him carte blanche as to what he can do internationally?
Well, I'm certainly supporting his authority to take those actions that are necessary on behalf of our country and our homeland defense. There is, as we speak, an effort underway to draft an appropriate resolution that will express the sense of the Senate. I've been seeking the advice of some of the senior members who've been around here a while, who were part of the Gulf War resolution and even going back further than that. So I'm confident that we will come up with an agreement that will give the President what he needs.
What are you saying to those who ask you in defense and the like about how far we go with this?
Well, I think that we have to clearly define what we know about the threats, what we know about the perpetrators, what we know about those who harbor terrorists. I was very pleased that the President in his speech to the country said that it's not only America's goal to track down and hold accountable those who carried out this dastardly attack, but also to serve notice on anyone who harbors terrorists. And I would go even further, as the President has in our discussion today. We are going to be looking at those who finance terrorism, those who give any aid or comfort whatsoever, not only governments, but institutions, individuals, organizations, wherever they might be found.
And finally, what do you say to those New Yorkers who are still missing loved ones?
Well, you know, we're only beginning to see the depth of anguish and pain that will be visible in the days and weeks ahead. We don't know yet how many people will never go home again, Larry. We do know that we have orphans and widows and widowers. We have mothers and fathers who have suffered what no parent should ever suffer, the loss of a child. We've got a lot of hard work. You know, when we think about responding to this attack, of course we think first and foremost about defending ourselves and tracking down those who did it. We think about the hard work of rescue and reconstruction and rebuilding, but let's not forget that we have a work of compassion ahead of us.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Larry.
Before we meet some other compelling stories, let's check in with our Union Square vigil going on right now at Union Square, New York. And there is Senti Toy and her daughter, Numi. Senti, what brought you to the vigil tonight?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
What brought you to the vigil tonight?
Because I do not believe in violence, and I would like the world to be more full of peace and love.
Well, do you live in Manhattan?
Yes, I do.
And how old is little Numi there?
Numi's 4.5.
The world should be full of peace and love, but what happened wasn't peace or love.
No, it wasn't.
Do you think we should retaliate?
No, that's why we're here, because we do not want to retaliate.
So what are you saying to the government?
That we should not act with violence, but instead with love, because violence will only lead to more violence, and that's not good.
Thank you, Senti. Good luck,
Thank
Numi.
you.
Senti Toy and Numi at the Union Square Vigil. Joining us now in Los Angeles are Bradley and Deborah Burlingame. Their brother Charles was the pilot of American Airlines Flight 77, scheduled from Dulles to L.A. It crashed into the Pentagon. In New York, David Thale and Charles Mankin, David and Carl Mankin in Washington. David and Carl are civilians working for Army Public Affairs. Both have seen active military duty, and both are survivors of the attack on the Pentagon. First, we'll start with Bradley and Deborah. Charles was the oldest of the brothers. Tell me about your late captain brother, Bradley.
We called him Chick. That was his nickname.
Chick.
He was Charles III and an Annapolis graduate. He started flying a couple of years after he graduated from Annapolis. He's been flying for 30 years. He was a Navy fighter pilot, and even after he left the Navy, he served in the Naval Reserve, and ironically worked for many years in the Pentagon in the Naval Reserve with his naval colleagues. It's so ironic.
He worked where he died?
Yes.
Well, we don't know that his office was actually there because they've been renovating the Pentagon for the last 2 years.
But he'd been at the Pentagon, right?
Oh,
Many times.
Yes, yes.
How did you first learn of this, Deborah?
Well, it was surreal, actually, because I was asleep at 6 in the morning and
In California?
No, here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, in California. You were in California.
Yes, in
Right.
California. And we have another brother in Pennsylvania, and his wife, who is a very, very dear friend of mine, Anine, called me at 6 in the morning and she said, "I'm sorry to wake you up, but you've got to go turn on the television set right now. A plane just crashed into the World Trade Center." And she said, "I was watching it and another plane crashed in minutes ago." And I quick rush turned it on, and I
Not thinking of your brother at all, right?
Well, no, because
he wasn't flying out
no,
of there.
because you're not thinking sensibly, and I was thinking, well, this is New York.
Yeah.
My brother flies out of Dulles, and he's usually going to the West Coast, so he wouldn't be up in New York airspace.
So you're watching in horror at this scene.
And I'm watching in horror.
Then
And
what?
it also appeared they were already replaying the second strike, and it didn't look like the kind of plane my brother flew. It looked too small. If you can imagine an airplane that big dwarfed by those towers. So Anine said, you don't think that could be Chick, do you? And I said, no, but this is horrible. And I was immediately thinking, those poor pilots, because, of course, pilots always say they are the first at the scene of any accident, being up there in the cockpit. They see horrific things, you know, and don't live to tell the tale. So I was just devastated. She was crying, I was crying. Brad called me. And then I saw the report on the Pentagon, because that happened maybe 20 minutes later. An NBC reporter was saying there's been a bomb explosion of some kind on the west side of the Pentagon.
You called, you knew?
I knew. I had received a phone call within 60 minutes from a colleague of my brother's who had already joined his wife at their house to inform her. American pilots and all airline pilots, United, I'm sure the United pilots, this was the same scene at their households as well, are close-knit families. And
He told you on the phone?
Chick's friend Tom called, and I, like Deborah, had been watching the television. I had an eerie feeling. My wife asked me what was going on, and Tom called me. As soon as I heard his voice, I knew. And of course, you know,
And you told Deborah?
I called my sister, and she called the rest of the family. It was a terrible moment.
And he called me. He was screaming into the phone. And, of course, you know, I used to be a flight attendant many, many years ago, so in addition to my brother, we really feel a connection with airline people and have a lot of airline friends, apart from my brother. And so we're devastated to see these scenes like this, and this is just an extraordinary scene. So I didn't know what he was saying. He was screaming, and then I caught the word Chick. It's Chick. And there's no words to describe. You know, you hear crime victims' families being told, this is a murder scene. This is a mass murder, and it's incomprehensible.
Your mother died last year?
10 months ago.
Your father's buried at Arlington?
Yep.
Chick has a daughter from her first marriage?
That's right.
2 stepsons from
Yes.
the current marriage?
Yes.
How's the wife handling all this?
Sherry is upset, naturally, very, very upset. But the best thing is, and it's quite comforting for us, is that she's got her family around her. She's got people from American Airlines around her, Navy buddies.
Any of you planning to go to Washington?
We're trying to put together a memorial next week. It's difficult. There's so much going on. And
Where did Chick live?
Chick lived in Oak Hill, which is not too far from the Dulles area, and he was actually planning part of a 30th year reunion at the United States Naval Academy next weekend. And
there'll be a burial at Arlington. Right?
We hope so.
We hope.
With any remains that are found, right?
Well, he'll be interred in some way, and of course, we are assuming he's entitled to be buried at Arlington because he was a 29-year naval veteran. But the thing is, even with my father, who was buried there with honors right near the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, we had to wait for almost 3 weeks for his burial because the World War II generation is dying in, record numbers, and you wait if you have any kind of ceremony.
Angry, Bradley?
My emotions are across the board. I'm sad. I'm in disbelief. Yes, I'm angry. If I could find the people who did this, I would sacrifice my life to do something to them.
Deborah?
Someone asked me if I've been going to church. Well, there's been too much happening for me to have the quiet time to be able to do that. I feel a tremendous responsibility to my brother to take care of certain things. But the idea of going to church would seem so insincere to me right now because our religion is about forgiveness, and it's not in me right now. No.
My best to both of you.
Thank you very much.
Anything we can do.
Thanks very much.
Bradley and Deborah Burlingame. Now joining us in Washington are two gentlemen who survived the sadness of the death of their brother. They are David Thale and Carl Mankin. David, we'll start with you. What do you do at the Pentagon?
I work for the Army Public Affairs. I'm a public affairs specialist in the Pentagon.
And Carl, what do you do?
I'm also a public affairs specialist. Dave worked 25 feet behind me when the blast occurred.
So you two work right near each other?
Yes. We do. We were working in the same office, separated by a drywall wall.
What happened, David?
At the moment of impact, Larry, it was just, if you have ever been around an artillery round, I mean, I am a former soldier, Carl is a reserve officer, and I liken it to being downrange when, during training when an artillery round hits the ground. I mean, there's just a certain whoosh that you hear, and at the moment of impact, there's a vacuum that occurs that just simply sucks the air right out of your lungs. I happened to be talking to a friend at the time who was jokingly telling me, the Pentagon is probably next, because she had called to ask if I knew about the World Trade Center, and of course we did. The Pentagon was abuzz with the news of that. And she jokingly said, the Pentagon's probably next, you ought to get out, and we shared some laughs over that. And then she said again, please get out. And it was at that moment that the walls just came in on me. And I knew immediately, holy heavens, we are under attack. And I credit my friend with buying me a couple of extra seconds when I finally landed about 25 feet away and in another office. The shock of being under attack was already over. I mean, I had already processed that information. Before I took flight, I knew we're under attack. So when I landed, there was no shock. I knew we'd been hit. Let's move on.
And Carl, what are your remembrances of 2 days ago?
My wife, Hope, had called me, and again, we knew about the attack and that was taking place in New York. We saw the plane that had hit the second tower. I went back to my desk and was working at my PC. Again, the sound was just like just a huge explosion. The tearing of metal, the ripping of boards, the walls collapsing, and I was in my chair, and my PC hit me in my face. I have a bruise on my head. But the force was so tremendous, and the thing is, it shakes you. It goes right through you. It shakes you to the core. Personally, like I said, it can shake your mental, it can shake your physical, but my spiritual did not shake, and my profound faith in God, my family, my extended family, my church family, my heart goes out to those people. And
you would understand, Carl, of the Burlingames not quite feeling that way at the moment?
Pardon me? I didn't hear
You
that.
can understand our previous guest not quite feeling that way.
Yes, and again,